Would you like to learn some great language to answer questions about food, memories, and your favorite season? Well, if so, this is a must-see video. Come and join me. Hello there, David from IELTS Teacher 365 here. In this IELTS mock speaking test, I will be playing the role of a student from Spain, Danielle. I hope I said that right. And Danielle will be giving us some great Band 9 model answers on the topic of food, memories, and his favorite season. Remember, to get the most from this video, pay attention to the language I use and my native speaker pronunciation. So, if you're ready, let's get started.
Can you tell me your full name, please?
I'm Daniel Martín Vega.
And where are you from?
I was born in Madrid, Spain, and grew up there, but now I live here in London.
Can I see your identification, please?
Yes, here you are.
Thank you, that's fine. Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about what you do. Do you work or are you a student?
I work. I've been teaching Spanish at a high school here in London for the past 2 years.
And why did you choose this career?
Well, I think it's because I like helping people to learn, especially teenagers. I think it's very rewarding to feel like you're making a difference to someone else's education. My father's also a teacher, and he's been a big influence in my life, and so I decided to follow in his footsteps.
Where do you see yourself in this profession in the future?
In the future, I'd like to go back to Spain and work in a Spanish high school, because all my family and friends are there and I miss them quite a lot. I think eventually, though, my long-term goal is to be the headmaster of a school. Although I know this would be quite a challenge in terms of responsibility and also managing teachers and students.
Let's talk about the food you like. What kinds of food do you particularly like?
Coming from Spain, I obviously like many Spanish dishes, but I'm also a big fan of Italian food, for example, pizza and pasta. Generally speaking, when it's cold in winter, I prefer eating hot dishes, for example, meat stews or vegetable broths. And then in summer, things like salad, rice, and grilled vegetables.
Is there any food you don't like?
Yes, there are probably 1 or 2 foods that I'm not very keen on. The food I like the least is probably sweet corn. I've tried to eat it on various occasions, but I just don't like the taste, and I really don't know why. And if I had to choose another food, I'd have to say cabbage. More than the taste, I think it's the smell that puts me off eating it.
Do you prefer to eat at home or in restaurants?
Well, during the week, I'd rather eat at home because I'm often tired when I get back from work. So I usually have a light dinner and put my feet up and watch the telly. But at the weekends, it's the exact opposite. I love going out to restaurants with my friends. For me, the best thing is that someone else takes care of all the cooking and the washing up. And I'm also a big fan of international cuisine, and so I like going to all kinds of restaurants. Japanese, Mexican, anything really.
Now let's talk about memories. What's your happiest memory?
Perhaps when I spent a month in Ireland with a host family as a teenager. This was the first time I'd ever left Spain on my own, and so I remember feeling nervous and excited at the same time. And it was a pretty amazing experience really, because I was from a very big city and they were farmers who lived in the countryside. But I had a great time because the family were incredibly nice to me, and best of all, I was surrounded by animals the whole time.
Do you still remember your teachers at primary school?
Yes, I think so. I can remember most of their names, and I can also picture many faces as well. There was one teacher in particular, Maria. And I remember her because she was very kind and had a lot of patience. I don't think I ever remember her shouting at anybody or getting angry. And also her lessons were very interesting as well. She encouraged us to participate in the class, and we didn't just have to sit there all day listening to her talk.
Do you keep photographs to remind you of the past?
Yes, of course. Although I don't have thousands of photographs of when I was a child, like people do nowadays. I think in the past it was more usual to take photographs on special occasions, such as birthdays, family get-togethers and holidays. And yes, I enjoy looking at them from time to time because they remind me of special moments I've spent with my family. For example, my grandparents, who have all passed away now, and also childhood friends, some of whom I'm no longer in touch with.
Thank you. Now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
So here's some paper and a pen to make some notes, and here's your topic. Please don't write anything on the booklet. I'd like you to describe your favorite season or time of the year.
Describe your favorite season or time of the year. You should say what season it is or when the time of year is, what the weather is like at this time of year where you live, what you usually do at this time, and explain why you enjoy this time.
All right?
Yes.
Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Well, for me, my favorite time of the year is definitely Christmas. The reason I enjoy it so much is because it reminds me of my childhood. I have very vivid memories of all the things I used to do with my family at this time of year. For example, I'd always go with my grandparents to see the Christmas lights in the city centre. And I remember really looking forward to this because all the streets and shops were much more beautiful than at any other time of the year. And also in December, there's a busy Christmas market in the main square in Madrid, which I really like going to still. I used to visit this with my parents and I'd get really excited because this was where we always bought our Christmas tree. I think when I was a child, it used to be much colder in Madrid in December than it is nowadays, and you could often see the snow on the top of the mountains to the north of the city. Nowadays, the weather seems to be much milder, and last year when I visited the Christmas market, the weather was quite sunny and warm. Another reason I really enjoy this time of year is because it's when all the family gets together to celebrate. We have many traditions in our family at Christmas. On Christmas Eve, we always go to my uncle's house for a special dinner with the whole family. All our aunts, uncles and cousins are there, so there's usually quite a lot of us. And then on Christmas Day, we all celebrate at my parents' house with a special lunch. My mother always prepares lamb, and everybody else has to lend a hand to prepare starters or set the table. And then afterwards, we usually play cards or a board game. And of course, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you. What are some of the best activities to do at that time?
Well, I think one of the best activities to do at this time of the year is to go for a walk around the city centre. You can admire the Christmas decorations and you can also visit the Christmas market, although it does get very crowded, so it's best to go early. And even though it's so busy in the city centre, everybody seems to be in a good mood, and so there's a very nice atmosphere. But for me, what I enjoy most is spending time with my family and friends. It's a great opportunity to catch up on what's been happening, to look back on the year, and also to make plans for the coming one.
Thank you. Can I take the booklet and the pencil and paper back, please? Thank you. We've been talking about a season or a time of year you like, and I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions related to this. So let's consider, first of all, the seasons in general. What's the worst season in your country?
Well, if I had to choose one season, it would probably be winter, especially January and February, because where I'm from, it's usually very cold at this time of year. And I really don't like this weather very much, because you really have to wrap up if you want to keep warm. It also gets dark really early, and I prefer long days with lots of hours of sunlight, so I have to admit I find it a bit depressing sometimes. Another reason I don't like this season very much is because you end up spending much more time indoors. One of the things I love most about Madrid is meeting up with friends and sitting outside a cafe or a bar. In winter, it's too cold for this, so we have to sit inside, and for me, it's just not the same.
What do you enjoy doing in summer in your country?
Well, I really like the summer in my country because it's very hot and the days are really long. You can go to the swimming pool with your friends and spend the day relaxing and having fun. And then in the evening, you can sit outside a cafe or a bar and have a drink or something to eat. The other thing I love doing in summer is traveling. As a teacher, I have quite long holidays, and so I try and visit as many places as possible. Last year I visited the north of Spain with my friends, and this year we're planning on going to Edinburgh in Scotland.
How cold is it in winter where you live?
Well, I think the temperature in the city itself isn't too bad if you compare it to the surrounding area. To the northwest there are mountains, and I know for a fact it's very normal to have minus temperatures at night, as well as snow occasionally. In Madrid, the city, it hardly ever snows, but it can be quite cold first thing in the morning when you go to work, and the temperature drops quickly again at night as well.
Let's go on and think about the changing of the seasons. In what way does the summer season affect people's way of life in your country?
From my point of view, quite a lot. In Spain, we have very hot summers that usually last from the beginning of June to the end of September. And because of this, I think people spend more time outside in the street than in countries with colder climates. Also, the extreme heat in summer makes it very difficult to work or study in the afternoon, which is the hottest part of the day. So summer holidays are longer in Spain for students, and many companies have intensive summer timetables. People start work at 8 and finish at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and then go home.
Is it a good idea to live in a place where the seasons aren't so different?
I suppose it depends on what you're used to. In my case, I like all of the 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter, because I associate them with different experiences I had as a child and a teenager. And so for me, it would probably feel a bit odd to live in a country where the weather was the same all year round. But I can definitely see the advantages as well. If the temperature is pretty constant, then you don't need to buy as many clothes, and maybe it's also easier to make plans to do things outdoors because the weather is less changeable. That's one of the big disadvantages of the weather here in the UK.
Well, thank you very much. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon. So, there you have it. How did Daniel do? What score would you give him for part 1, part 2 and part 3? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification so that you never miss a future video or the opportunity to improve your English and your IELTS band score. I'm David. Thanks very much for watching, and until next time, take care and keep practicing.